So our topic today is we're going to talk about side hustles. So I found all of these different books when I went searching for, what information is there out there about side hustles? And I got to tell you, the covers are great, So I grabbed all the covers and threw the covers of these books and threw them into a slide for you. I like the one that says "To hell with the hustle." That whole book is about like how much they hate the side hustle piece of things. So that whenever you have a trend and you have something that lots of people are talking about, there's always the counter trend, right? I think these are really interesting. And this whole idea of side hustles was suggested. I think Gary suggested this idea for us to have a little discussion about what are the little side businesses that we might be running in addition to whatever we're doing for our main source of income. In a sense, my company is kind of a side hustle for me right now. It never used to be. It was my main thing. And so I've kind of gone from my company being my main thing to having it be my side hustle now. So this is just gonna be a conversational meeting today rather than a presentation. So, get ready to talk. We have a group of, let's see, how many do we have here? Can't see my number. Glasses.
17.
Okay, we got 17. Is that too big of a group, you think, for us just to have a conversation together? Do you want to break out into breakout rooms? Of smaller groups, or do you want to just stick together and talk together? I'm kind of leaning.
I like the idea of hanging out together. I think we have we have pretty good conversationalists here.
Awesome. Okay. If you're finding that you're not able to, get a word in, because sometimes it is really hard on Zoom because people don't have the visual cue of each other, just raise your hand and let's all just keep an eye on the participants, and I'll try to jump in if I see that someone hasn't had a chance to talk. How's that? Okay, so here's some questions, some side hustle stories. What is your side hustle? Why did you start it? How's it going? What's your goal for it? And would you ever make it your full-time thing? So, I could start us off if you'd like. I started a company called Internet Connections back in 1993. We brought internet access to this part of the state. So this is back when nobody knew what the heck internet was. We used to go around explaining to people what email was and what the possibilities for it could be, trying to help people sort of envision what we all know, is happening today. I used to spend 10 days out of every 30 going to places like Lions clubs and, any place that would give me a free lunch, and I'd go and I'd tell them this is what it was. It was a very educational kind of a business because people didn't know what it was, right? So I had to explain it. And then once they understood what it was, then they're like, yeah, sign us up. But it was also super technical. So we had to, this was back in the days of modems, or me, as they were connecting you. So that was my, main gig for a long time. I've been working at the university now full-time since 2017, and that business has become my side hustle. And so it's kind of a different situation. Lots of times people have a full-time thing and then they start a side hustle and it's a small thing. I have 6 employees. I have payroll to make and healthcare to pay for them and stuff like that. So it's a little different situation. So looking forward to talking to you all about your side hustles. So what does everybody else got going on? Kate, yours is really cool. I own some of your shirts.
Yeah. I have 2 businesses. I own Blue Sun Designs, which is a graphic design, document design business. And then Cabin Number 4 is more recent, and that is I make outdoorsy graphic t-shirts. But Blue Sun Designs actually started as a side hustle back in 2018. I was working full-time for a company here in Mankato. And when I started working for that company, I actually was brought on for a different role. And then our graphic designer left for another position. And I knew about this much about graphic design. So I said, well, I can get us by until we figure out what we want to do, if we want to contract it out or we want to hire somebody or whatever. And then getting us by turned into, that became mostly what I did. And my boss would always say, Kate, can you do this? And I would say, yes. And then I would Google, how do I do this? And so, and then I found out that I loved it. And I should preface it, I had gone to school for technical communication for a grad program, but I just never finished it. So I did have this little burning thing inside me that I loved organizing information. So when I got that opportunity to do it for my job, I really grabbed on, and I just figured out how to do everything. And then working with Mankato area public schools to redesign the registration guide, the high school's registration guide. And I was doing that for free, just for experience, which was a big project. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it is 70 something pages long of content. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. And my husband walked by me one day and saw me like hunched over my computer, so excited about organizing information. You should be doing this. This is what you're excited about. You should be doing this. And so I started Blue Sun Designs in January 2018, and I stayed on my day job until October 2019. And when I quit my day job, it was not because Blue Sun Designs was so lucrative, but because I just decided to go all in and just figure it out and make it work. And it's been growing since. So it was my husband is definitely the one that is much more of a risk taker than I am. So he kept pushing and pushing and pushing and saying, we can figure it out. We'll be fine. Let's just do it. And I'm like, but bills, and how are we going to do this? And what if I suck at it? And what if nobody hires me? And he's like, so what about the what ifs? Just do it. Do it. So I'm fortunate that I had such a big cheerleader on my team. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done it. And then, I started Cabin Number 4 in April 2020, shortly after the pandemic started, and that's been going very well as well.
Hey, how do you manage having like the two, or are we fine to ask some questions here? Or do we want to let everyone introduce? How do you manage having the two? How do you balance that?
Right now, social media for me is like the bane of my existence, because social media is so important in Cabin Number 4. And I've had on my to-do list to do social media stuff for it for about a week and a half. So if you go on my Facebook or my Instagram for Cabin Number 4, it is quiet there right now. And that's where the ball is starting to get dropped. But for the most part, it's kind of been working out really well, where Cabin Number 4 is really busy in December, but businesses and organizations aren't doing new publications in December. They've already got all their holiday stuff done. They're focusing on their own business and what's happening with the holidays and all of that. So then Cabin Number 4 dropped off in January because people aren't shopping anymore. But my schedule for Blue Sun Designs is completely packed. So it kind of ebbs and flows, which is nice. But like I said, I think the hardest thing for me is keeping up with social media. And part of me right now is so burnt out on it that I almost don't care. Because I'm just so tired. December was exhausting because you're posting every day and you're like trying to drum up enthusiasm and all of that.
Awesome. Hey, Lindsay's got her hand up, Cardinal Marker. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Oh, I think that was from before, but I'll definitely talk. So I'm in marketing. I did like a 9-to-5 job for 6.5 years, and I was doing like a little bit of contract work on the side. And I decided to take that full time last year, or 3 years ago. Oh my gosh, 3 years ago. So now I'm just trying to build up my client base. I also want to, I really have a thing for interest in old buildings and architecture. So right now I'm trying to find, my side hustle dream idea is to find like an old downtown business or building, and then eventually put like a lounge or like wine cafe on the first floor and like rent out the upstairs. And just like I've got that kind of idea and interest to do that in St. Peter. So that's kind of my aspirations, I guess.
Hey, Lindsay, on that, just to jump in, and you probably have you know Russ Willie, I assume, in St. Peter?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you talked to him about that idea? He's a pretty supportive guy, it seems like.
Yeah, I was, yep, I've talked to him. And there's definitely some loans out there for me to help like, take on older buildings that need work. It's just that right now there's only one building in St. Peter that's for sale that's in my price range for a loan, and it has so many unknowns, like how much 100,000, 80,000, like I don't even, it's pretty bad. And so I'm kind of right now holding out for something that maybe it doesn't have such a big question mark on it, but there isn't much supply, so I'm kind of just in a waiting period.
The other thing I'd just throw in, and I'll get out of the way, is that have you talked to somebody who has done that? We've had some people, I want to say in Springfield, Loft Nutrition, I may be wrong on that, but we had a couple of presenters that have not the full plan that you have living upstairs, but have taken an old building and fixed it up. New Ulm has the bakery there, Becky's Bakes.
Yeah.
Have you talked to any of those people at all? How it's went for them?
I talked to Kayla, how she kind of remodeled her duplex and lived in part of it, or lives in part of it. But I haven't talked to a ton of people. So if there's other people you'd recommend, but yeah, I wouldn't live upstairs. I'd actually like rent that out. Yeah.
Right. All right. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Bridget had mentioned in chat that she has Dandelion Designs. I haven't heard about that yet. You want to tell us about it, Bridget? She's like, no,
Sure.
I'm busy.
Sure. Ryan, you owe me.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. So it wasn't anything that I planned. I don't even know what to say really. It's been a hobby of mine for many, many years to paint. In high school it started, and I've just always continued painting. And I moved about a year ago. And the house has more room for a painting studio in the basement, and so now I paint as a hobby. And I had posted something just on Facebook one day about, I was bored, it was COVID, I didn't know what else to do, so I was in the studio painting and posted a picture of it. And then somebody said, I have to have that, and they wanted to buy it. And I said, no, you can just have it. And they said, no, I need to buy this, you could sell these. And I'm like, no. And here I am about a year later still selling them, and I've done a couple commissions. Thank you, Ryan, he was my first commission. But yeah, so other than that, I'm just on Facebook occasionally, and it's just a hobby. So, but it's one of my passions.
I wish I was working from home right now, because I could show you I've got a Dandelion Design print on my wall. Or, well, no, it's not a print, it's an actual painting.
It's an original.
I've never had an actual painting before, so I'm so used to saying print. But no, I have a Dandelion Design right on my wall, so I'm trying to see if I can find a picture, because her paintings are awesome.
Thank you.
So how do we see your designs and paintings?
It's just on Facebook. It's Dandelion Designs MN for Minnesota.
I know how amazingly talented you are. I can't wait to see. That sounds really cool.
Thank you.
Okay, other side hustles that folks are doing that you want to talk about? I love this. This is fun.
Hey, Ashley, isn't it you? I know, at least I've lost track of you, so I think you're in the side hustle business, or maybe full blown, but update us.
Yes. So can you hear me okay? I'm using a new mic. Perfect. So my side hustle turned into my full-time job, and then has led to, as I was sitting here thinking, like, well, I guess we have a couple more side hustles in the work. But so I used to work for Region 9 Development Commission, and while I was doing that since I was 14, I've always done photography on the side, just never made it a full-time gig. Found out through Region 9 that I also really enjoyed marketing and doing that as well in communications work. So then my husband's been pushing me since we got married to do my own full-time photography and just do that. So then about, I think I'm in year 3, maybe. I've lost track of time because I'm having so much fun. I broke off from Region 9 and I'm now doing photography full-time as well as marketing. However, I promote more of the photography stuff. What makes me unique is that I don't really like doing family photography. I don't do weddings. I do them right now because I'm too new to say no to anything. I'll work for food. But my focus is business photography. That's what I love. So headshots, product photos, team photos, all that type of stuff is really my passion and what I enjoy. And then I also do the marketing stuff for people as well. I've got a few of my own clients. And then my other, I guess you would call it a side hustle, is I work for Redwood Valley Tech Solutions and do website design through them, which is a lot of fun because she does all of the technical coding stuff that I never understood and don't want to understand. And I get to do the fun laying things out and making things look pretty, which I enjoy and find very relaxing. And then we're also, my husband and I, he's an entrepreneur as well. He owns an IT company here in New Ulm. So between me and him, we are also starting to get into the real estate side of things. And we bought a rental property and now we're working with my sister, potentially looking at buying a small town bar at some point. So yeah, we kind of have a lot of things going on, I guess, but I find myself the fun success story of when you can take that side hustle that you really enjoy and make that your full-time go. It's well worth it. I absolutely love what I do.
Ashley, do you come to Mankato for headshots and things like that?
Absolutely. I go anywhere. So I have I have a pop-up studio is what I call it. So, well, now we actually just finished, I have a real studio now that's not even a month old. So I can do shoots in studio, but I also have a pop-up studio that I take on location. So that way you and your employees don't have to travel. I can just come right to you and do everything right there.
Awesome. Will you put your stuff in the chat?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I need a new headshot so badly. That's great.
I'm just thinking that my hair has gotten so long that my stuff on my website looks really outdated now. I literally just thought about that yesterday, and here you are in my life. So thank you.
Yes, I'll just throw my website in the chat there, and then it's got.
Thank you.
Connections. There you go. Danielle wanted to go next. Go ahead, Danielle.
All right, good morning. So this is definitely outside my comfort zone, but Ryan invited me, so thank you. I work a full-time job for South Central Service Cooperative as the Workforce Development Coordinator. And really since, gosh, in March last year, I've been working from home. I had switched jobs. And so it's allowed me more time to think creatively and actually step outside into something that I, really want to do. And so in 2019, we had our 4th child. And then I started to realize that self-care was essentially really important in my daily life and in our family's daily life. So I slowly but surely developed a platform, really cultivated a community of working moms, of solo mompreneurs, as they call it, with a podcast, a website, social media. I post consistently 3 times a week on gratitude and motivation and such. And some other things. There's just a lot of different pillars, and I'm in the exploration stage. I see a question there. I don't know if that's targeted towards me specifically, but really my goal is to support and encourage those working mompreneurs into living their best life. So I think the challenge for me is time, working full time, having 3 kids under 7 years old, and investing in this sort of passion, which I would really like it to become a side hustle. I've had some various events that have become, some financial support, but really it's the drive to encourage other women to be their best self. So that is it in a nutshell.
That's awesome, Danielle. How cool. I love that motivation. It's like you're entrepreneurial, but you want to help others. That's very cool. I just wanted to point out that we've been joined by Ben McDougall. He's our 1 Million Cups Midwest Regional Coordinator. highest energy man I know, with or without caffeine. You want
I've
to
been
say?
having coffee for 8 years, my friends. I'm based down here in Des Moines, but it is a silver lining in our connected era to be able to teleport. I just came from a town hall in Des Moines, and I'm popping out down to Joplin, who paused their launch last spring and will be one of our newer communities along with Cincinnati. So my role is to help connect and support all of the 50 different communities throughout our 12-state region. And I will only take another second because I have to share my enthusiasm about Mankato. Your organizing team is remarkable. The energy as you've transitioned to a weekly experience is special. And the way that you've been inclusive with even other communities and bringing folks into this conversation is really great. I'll finish with my heart for side hustles. I am a side hustle extraordinaire. I find it to be almost a barrier for some folks. Think about the students or folks who don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs, seeing the headlines and thinking they have to change the world or make this a full-time job in order to be entrepreneurial, when in fact a side hustle, a project, a volunteer position, something as an intrapreneur inside of an existing company, all those little activities can flex this muscle and create that entrepreneurial energy. Even if it breaks even, this can be an energy that can fit within your career portfolio and activate positive vibes for some of the other activities that you're involved with. So I think it's a barrier for some folks, and I would encourage everyone to be celebrating these side hustles because it's such a neat thing to build for around your passion. Look, the biggest thing I've learned through 1 Million Cups over the last 8 years, accelerating others is an unmatched energy, right? So every Wednesday we get a chance to do that. This is innovation just jolted into your arm. The other thing is persistence is the wild card, right? And passion leads to that persistence. So if you're doing something that you're going to enjoy, that's going to lead to perhaps more longevity with your efforts. And so side hustles are an important piece of this puzzle, and community is right there behind it. So thanks, Yvonne, for letting me barge in a little bit just to say hello, but this is a good conversation, and it's always fun to see my friends in Mankato.
You have a side hustle too. Tell them the title of your book.
You don't need this book. That is the title. Last year, finished writing into this idea of entrepreneurship in our connected era. Yvonne, thanks for letting me share that. And of course, there are community is chapter 2. Talking about side hustles is a piece of that puzzle, of course, as well. It'll be on your shelf here this spring. And so I'm pairing that last year's personal project with this year. I'm sharing a reflection each week. And along with that, I built into the video game industry. Back when MySpace was cool, we launched a social network for gamers. That unlocked adventure that I'm so thankful for. Playing Guitar Hero in Times Square and Disney World and going to E3. The beer, it's just like hobbies that pay, right? So we were sitting there drinking beers and annoyed by which one was which. So we decided to build an electronic beer flight paddle that has a touch screen on the handle, so you can learn about each of the beers. What a rabbit hole Flightbright has been. We pivoted and are now a beer festival app with this IP for the physical electronic hardware. And then I noticed a gap in the real estate industry, coordinating open houses with realtors, and I was at a home builder inside working there. And so we built an open house scheduler. So Open is the latest project. And that's why I come with so much genuine energy, is I've lived it, and 1MC has kind of caffeinated the entire thing. So everyone on this call is headed in the right direction.
Thanks so much. Hey, see you later, Ryan. I know you got to go off to something at 9 o'clock. Yeah, Ben is my contact with the Kauffman Foundation, and we got a chance to meet in person a few times, and just a great guy. That's awesome. Thanks for stopping in, Ben. That's awesome. Such energy already. So continuing our discussion about our side hustles, I put the other questions in the chat. We're just talking about, how is it going now? What are your goals for your side hustle? Do you just hope to keep it on the side, or do you hope that maybe someday it might become your full-time thing? like Bridget, you know, you're doing this art, you called it a hobby, you know, and it's sort of accidentally starting to sell the stuff. What if, you know, would you make that your full-time thing, or would that kind of ruin it?
Yeah, I think it might ruin it a little bit for me, just because most of the time when I go down there and sit in my studio, it's just whatever comes out of the paintbrush is what I do. So, you know, as much as I enjoyed like doing Ryan's commission, I've done a couple other commissions, but that was quite challenging for me, and it wasn't as fun, I don't think. I mean, I made it fun in the long run, but I don't know. For me, I think it would ruin the fun a little bit for me. I just do what comes to me when I sit down. I don't plan. I don't, you know. So I don't know. Yeah, I think I'd like to keep it as it is.
Mm-hmm. I totally get that. I've talked to people where they, you know, they have a hobby and they sell just enough of it to sort of pay for the supplies or to
Right.
kind of cover it, but they don't ever want it to become the thing, because then there's a pressure to do it because you got to make a living.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, usually if I
like
sell a
Ashley was
painting.
saying. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, if I sell a painting, then I'll go to Hobby Lobby and buy some more canvases and some more paintbrushes. So it's just, it comes in, then it goes right back out.
Right.
Bridget, that's good insight. Business can kill a passion.
Right. Yep. Yep.
And so recognizing whether you want to keep it as a hobby is very self-aware. Just because you like quilting doesn't mean you should start a quilting company. And so exploring down that path, but knowing, you know, being willing to pull it back and being okay with it not being a business is just as healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Well, Ashley was talking about, you know, in order to keep the lights on and to pay the bills, you know, doing projects that are outside of where she would like to be working too. You know, it's the same kind of things. You have to do that as you're starting out. You got to take anything to get yourself, you know, pay the bills each month. That's the hard part. But you eventually can kind of work yourself into a place where you can do more of the things that you really want to do. Are you finding that, you know, as you're getting going, Ashley, is that something that, you know, you're kind of moving yourself in the direction of the photography you want to do more? Maybe we lost her. Shouldn't ask questions if I can't see the person's video, right? Does anybody have a side hustle they haven't shared yet?
Yeah, Garrett, I think has one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, hi everyone. I wish I could share my video right now, but I'm having some internet difficulties. But I'm a transplant from Rochester, and I really was more of a fractional e-commerce director and marketing and sales consultant for different companies. And really, when I transitioned to Mankato to join Green Team as a fellow with Lead for Minnesota, it really gave me the opportunity to really dive into creating my own LLC, Lifeline LLC, and then really expanding my services. And so a lot of the sales consulting I do really helps engineers sell, right? Engineers, you know, really are good at engineering. However, in a small team, selling is really important when launching your product. And so I help them really develop their voicemail scripts. I help them really run through the sales process and the foundation through that, and just really getting their email marketing campaign set up so they're really hitting the right message. Then in addition to really some of that other consulting, I manage a lot of different e-commerce stores, really on Amazon and their website, making sure things are optimized, essentially taking over that Amazon so that they can focus on the day-to-day and not worrying about, are they hitting the right metrics on Amazon? So I tackle a lot of the inventory and advertising campaigns with that, and it's been pretty good fun.
Well, I'll share my side hustle, and then I've got a question for the side hustlers that would be of interest to me. I'm a transplant here, and just for personal reasons came to the Mankato area, and took early retirement. But not really wanted to retire. But when you're retired, you want to do what you want to do, and when you want to do it. Okay, but you also want to still stay in the game, so to speak. Bobby is a continual side hustler, so I think I can identify with him that I get fired up about being involved with projects and where I can help. And I ended up with the SBDC as a business consultant, which is great. Interface with people like you, other very smart smarter business consultants like David online that are smarter than me, that I learn stuff from, and try to connect people. I'm a big connector. So I think a side hustle and keeping in the right perspective, like Ben had said, or Bridget referred to, where it doesn't consume what you really want to do. And I want to be retired, but I'm not, stepping out of the game, so to speak. So one of my questions for side hustlers that Kate had mentioned, let's see, I forget if it was Bridget or Ashley, I guess. You have a support system, and I think for both Kate and Ashley was your spouses that, hey, dive in there. And then, Yvonne's talked about her husband in the past being very supportive and so forth. It seems to me, BNI is one support network for direct sales, but do you have a peer of other side hustlers that you talk about lessons learned in those channels, like, just as was shared, realizing how I managed your side hustle, and just sharing and lamenting and getting that support network? Is there anything out there like that, or is that something that you would see value if there was a, side hustlers support type of group to compare notes? Is there anything like that, or is that of any interest, or you have just informally a group of other side hustlers that you confide with and figure things out?
I have a couple of resources that I really heavily relied on when I first started. I don't have a ton of friends that are doing things like this, but there's an organization through Dave Ramsey called Christy Wright's Business Boutique. And it is right now it's the public Facebook group, like the one that anybody can join, is over 40,000 women who own businesses around the country. I should say there are some men in there too, but mostly women. And so you can post questions out there. Hey, I ran into this, I don't know what to do. And it's all very supportive. And that's the thing that I love about it. I've left other Facebook groups for business owners because they're too nitpicky, too critical, made me feel like I didn't know what I was doing, that kind of stuff. And every single question I've posted on this Facebook group, Christy Wright's Business Boutique, people flood you with support and say, yeah, I did that too. Oh my gosh, I messed up. And here's my story. And so I love that group, because you feel like, okay, I'm not the only person in the world that's made that mistake or that has run into this issue and doesn't know how to handle it. So that was one. We used to get together in Mankato. There was a group called Mean Business. And we did that like once a month, I think it was, or once every other month. And I loved that group. That was a good group too. But obviously the pandemic, that we stopped meeting because of that. But that was a good group too. For women business owners to kind of get together and share successes and frustrations and all of that kind of stuff.
It was the Mankato group was called Women Mean Business. It'd be a fun one to regenerate. That was neat. Yeah, I was enjoying it.
I'm hoping it comes back once life we get back out in the world again. Tabitha was the big leader on that. I don't know who else was in charge of it, but hopefully it comes back.
Yeah, they haven't been meeting at all, not virtually or anything since then. Yeah, it was Julie Nelson, Tabitha, yeah, a bunch of other folks.
Yeah, so Kate, one more time, it was Christy, that whole business boutique. What was the second word there? Christy Wright's?
Christy Wright,
Right.
Business Boutique. She has a book for people who are just starting out in business, that kind of walks you through. It's a general book, so not like you need to contact your Secretary of State and all, like it's a general, like, here's the things you should be thinking about as you walk through the process of starting a business. And actually one of my clients gave me that book when I started Blue Sun Designs. And then that same client sent me to her conference in Nashville. And it was helpful. It was mostly rah-rah, like, you can do this, but that's what I needed at that point in my life too. So, but the day-to-day stuff, I get a lot out of that Facebook group. I'll post a link to it in the chat.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
For some reason that made me think about the Small Business Revolution. You know, there's a TV show called Small Business Revolution, and it's put on by Deluxe, which is a Twin Cities company. You know, they used to do exclusively checks, but they sort of expanded out to like, helping small businesses. And so they started this whole TV show. It's like a reality TV show where they go into a town. Wasika was really close to possibly being in that town, and they, you know, do marketing stuff for them. Maybe we should get Julie Gordon or Amanda from Small Business Revolution to come and talk to us sometime. I think that'd be really cool. And they have a really active online like presence where you can communicate with other people who are starting small businesses around the country. So
yeah,
that's
at there was an event this fall, a virtual event through Hill Capital, who I think presented last week, right?
Yeah.
So Hill Capital puts on an event. So if you follow them on LinkedIn or Facebook, and they have really cool speakers, and it's a free event, but you can donate, and then they donate that money to a Twin Cities nonprofit. But yeah, the woman from that Small Business Revolution presented at that last fall. That was really interesting.
It's really neat. We have this national resource, you know, right here in the state, and they're willing to come down to Mankato when we're, you know, not doing COVID stuff. So hopefully we'll get them down one of these days. So I think that's a great segue. Like, what sorts of, you know, resources have people found out there that if they found useful to their side hustles? And what kinds of things have you found that have really helped you move your side hustle forward and, you know, made it less difficult to balance it with the rest of your job, you know, the rest of your life?
I can chime in a little bit. I would say there's a Facebook group support of every single kind out there. I mean, from, yes, freelance to side hustles. I mean, you name it, you can find it. That's been very helpful. As Kate said, a lot of people, especially during COVID, have started their own businesses or their own podcasts. Other resources that I've found, and it's a newer resource, is called Clubhouse. And so I've listened, it's an app and you have to be invited, but I've listened in on just really on any sort of topic, very authentic conversations. And then I ended up hiring a career life money coach just in general. I think regardless, everybody, you know, it's just good to talk to somebody, but I was connected with this gal out of Duluth, Minnesota, and she asks really, really good questions. She also hosts a monthly monthly group for entrepreneurs. So every week there's a specific topic and coaching session within that call. And it just keeps you motivated regardless of if you have a side hustle. But that's really helped me. And then also podcasts. I mean, there's a million podcasts out there and you can learn a lot for free. So hopefully you are all in that world as well. But has anybody heard of Clubhouse? I'd be curious if anybody's used it before or been, I mean, you can host your own Clubhouse call. It's pretty cool.
I literally just heard about it yesterday because somebody posted on Facebook that they were on it now and who else is and whatever. So I had to Google it to find out what Clubhouse was.
It's kind of the new, what did they say? I forget what they compared it to, but it's just on the spot, quick, I mean, really, really great, authentic conversations. And you don't have to be an expert. You can host your own call and people can join in.
So one of the things we want to try to do with Women in Cups is build the connections, right? And what you just did is part of that. It's like telling about the kinds of resources that you found helpful helps other folks, right? So, and also to facilitate connection, if you take a moment, if you have a side hustle, or if you're willing to help a side hustler with something, would you put in chat your information? You know, like Lindsay, if I wanted to refer somebody to the Cardinal Marketer, where do you want me to send them? Do you want me to send them to your website, your Facebook page, your email, whatever that is? Pop that into chat for me so that I can help make that connection. And so others in the, you know, listening here can help make the connection. Ashley, for sure, I'm going to be calling you to get, you know, my headshot done and contacting you about that. If you could provide your information in here. Kate, give your website addresses for where they can buy your products. And the Facebook page for Bridget, I think she put in earlier about Dandelion Designs. If she didn't, we'll have to find that and get that in there too. But this is a great time. Let's take just a few minutes to connect. Does anybody have suggestions, recommendations, stuff that people might, that just sparked as they were talking?
I'll share another idea that a guy some time ago shared with me that was simple, but yet effective. And I've used this over the years. I'm in my new side hustle. I don't apply it as much, but they advise me, have your own board of directors. Companies have board of directors. Yeah. So you as a side hustle or a small business, either one, but we're talking side hustle, identify 3 or 4 people, not your good friends, somebody, maybe it's, like Yvonne's got an avenue, somebody from this group or that you've run across in 1 Million Cups. There's a lot of presenters. Reach out to, one of them and say, hey, can I connect with you periodically and bounce things off? And have 3 or 4 people that you call your board of directors and say, hey, I've got this issue, and get the reaction, get their feedback. And here, Danielle shared a couple of things that your board of directors, somebody would have and say, hey, here's a new resource. So it's a very easy thing to do these days, particularly with the environment we're living in. I suggest if you haven't, and have that, and it doesn't have to be real formal. You can just say, hey, even tell them if they're a little reluctant, say, hey, for 6 months, just be in my board of directors. So I can run some things by you as I'm making decisions and ask for a little bit of their time, and that's it. So I throw that out there, and maybe somebody's done that, but that was a simple idea that a friend of mine suggested when I in a different role that really made a lot of sense. And I did use that as I was making decisions about switching jobs, and said, hey, what do you think about this? And it kind of balanced, because family and friends, they're real supportive. Yeah, go for it. And that you need that one level, but you also need that more objective view, more detached view that might bring up things that you not think of.
Definitely true. Well, Jill's here too from the SBDC. David works with the SBDC, and Gary does. The Small Business Development Center is a resource for those of you with side hustles. And sometimes people don't think of that, like, oh, it's just this little side thing that I'm doing. They don't think of it as a real business necessarily, but it is a real business, and the SBDC will help you. There are tons of great resources. Jill, you want to chime in?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Rawlings. I'm program manager at the SBDC, and timing was perfect, Yvonne. I just was putting in our website, and so I've got that in the chat, and we're working on a new slate of programming too for 2021. So on our website under trainings, we'll have different webinars, different ways for people to connect. We're still working on putting that out there and getting that set. But everything is going to be virtual in the near term. So we're trying to reach a broader audience in our region. And then of course, if you're not already affiliated with SBDC, if you are looking to start a business or you have questions, it is no cost to you at all to get connected with someone, whether it's with a business plan, looking for capital, questions on digital marketing, all different skill sets of consultants we have.
Thanks, Jill. We'll take any last connections people want to make or suggestions.